the people have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
I've been asking questions to help steer the group away from spiritual bypassing and active hate. Every weekend there's a stream of questions released at different times of day, like this one. Why do so many who claim to love Thich Nhat Hanh ignore his teachings on collective awakening and engaged action? A good friend noticed this and gave us a good comment. Meta has been muting me, limiting my reach, even in this group I created for engaged Buddhism. It's not easy to spread the word lately. So I really appreciate when the friends notice and act to help all beings understand the path to the end of suffering better. Like this.
After careful reflection, we decided to do both, to go out and help people, and to do so in mindfulness. We called it engaged Buddhism. Mindfulness must be engaged. Once there is seeing, there must be acting. Otherwise, what is the use of seeing? We must be aware of the real problems of the world. Then, with mindfulness, we will know what to do and what not to do to be of help. If we maintain awareness of our breathing and continue to practice smiling, even in difficult situations, many people, animals, and plants will benefit from our way of doing things. Tay.
Here's another example. If generosity is a pillar of Buddhism, why do some think it only means personal charity and not creating a more just and compassionate world? Another good friend popped in to say, because of ego. Indeed. That's one way to talk about it. I tend to move away from the word ego, though. Not because it's completely wrong, but because it's too floppy in meaning. It carries too much baggage from pop psychology, Western philosophy, and everyday language, so it often creates more confusion than clarity. But I totally get what you mean. I'd say this is Atman, the illusion of a permanent, separate, independent or discrete self, the thing the Buddha was actually addressing. And that's where the distinction matters. Why not ego? The Latin word ego simply means. But today, in modern pop culture and psychology, ego has expanded to mean everything from self-importance to self-identity, to a separate part of the mind. Some people use it to mean arrogance. Some use it to mean any sense of individuality. Some use it to mean the Freudian ego, the mediator between the id and the superego. It's all over the place, which makes it slippery for Buddhist discussion. The Buddha didn't deny that we have a functional sense of self, ego. He denied that this self was fixed, permanent, and independent. He wasn't saying that no sense of identity arises, only that this identity is impermanent, conditioned, and without an inherent essence. What people call ego today could be seen as unwholesome volitional formations, sankharas, the habitual clinging to identity, status, self-image, and preference. That clinging, that attachment, is the problem. So instead of using ego, which can be misunderstood in a dozen ways, we can be more precise. If we mean clinging to self as inherently real, that's Atman. If we mean a false belief in separateness, That's avidya, ignorance. If we mean arrogance or self-importance, that's mana, conceit. We mean a false belief in separateness, that's avidya, ignorance. If we mean arrogance or self-importance, that's mana, conceit. If we mean unwholesome mental habits, that's akusala sankharas, bad volitional formations. Using Buddhist terms doesn't just avoid confusion, it teaches more dharma. It helps us see the ethical and karmic dimensions of the issue, instead of just throwing everything into one word with too many non-Buddhist meanings. Thanks for your comment. I appreciate it. It's good to see what you think. This kind of discussion helps. This question helps to draw out the MAGA haters and the aggressive spiritual bypassers, so we can confront or remove them. If a person hates wokeness, how will they ever reach Bodhi?
It's only a word.
Exactly, it is just a word. So why do people get so worked up about it? If it was meaningless, why does it provoke such strong reactions? That's what we should be asking. The fact that certain people freak out when they hear the word woke shows that, to them, it means something significant, something they've been conditioned to react against. And that conditioning didn't happen by accident. It's the result of deliberate disinformation, years of propaganda designed to make people associate woke with something negative. But that's not how language works naturally. That's how manipulation works. Originally, woke just meant awake, like, I woke up. And in time it came to mean aware of injustice, paying attention, seeing clearly. That's a good thing. In Buddhism, waking up is literally the whole point. But now, thanks to right-wing fear-mongering, some people hear the word and immediately get defensive, as if it's an attack. That's not a rational response. That's a programmed reaction. So yeah, words are empty in the ultimate sense, but they shape minds and perceptions in the conventional sense. If people are upset by this word, they should ask why. And if they think it's meaningless, then why do they care so much? Here's another common response.
I don't understand why we should worry about other people's behavior or how their spiritual path is going. I think we should be busy enough working on ourselves not to have time left to judge others.
Except when they attempt to weaponize the very idea of being woke, and it does begin to hurt others, then I do care.
I'm not saying we should not stand or take a position once threatened, but the topic of this post is something else. Why should I care if to reach Bodhi or not? Why should it be my business?
You and I obviously understood the post differently.
Our friend here isn't getting that Buddhism, especially the Bodhisattva path, isn't just about personal practice. It's about helping others. Saying we shouldn't worry about other people's behavior or path ignores the fact that Buddhism is about reducing suffering, and that includes correcting harmful misunderstandings when they arise. She's also confusing discernment with judgment. Noticing when someone is causing harm or spreading misinformation isn't about feeling superior. It's about taking responsibility for protecting the Dharma and helping others avoid suffering. The Buddha himself corrected people's wrong views all the time. He didn't just let people stay confused because everyone is on their own path. When she asks, "Why should I care if they reach Bodhi?" that question completely misses what the Bodhisattva path is about. If we don't care whether beings awaken, then we're not practicing the Mahayana path. Bodhisattvas work to help others reach awakening, not just themselves. She's repeating a common misunderstanding that Buddhism is just about inner peace and avoiding conflict. But that's not how the Buddha or Thich Nhat Hanh practiced. They confronted misunderstandings and engaged where suffering was happening. Ignoring harm and calling it not my business isn't wisdom. It's spiritual bypassing. If we actually care about beings, we act when we see them going the wrong way. That's what the Bodhisattva path is.
People say the darndest things.